We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. Our topic today is California, the only isolated energy state in the US. And with us, the great guy, Ronald Stein, Senior Policy Advisor for the Heartland Institute and CFACT, and co-author of the Pulitzer Prize book. I cannot read here. Help me.
Clean energy exploitations.
Perfect exploitation. Thank you, because I have some controls over the screen.
Okay.
Welcome, Ronald Stein.
Armando, glad to be aboard.
Fantastic. Let me share. I have one. I promise that I have one only. This chart shows a few pipeline connections to California. And my question for you to start is: California is an energy island?
We have the Sierra Mountains that pretty much separates California from the rest of the country. And there are no pipelines over the Sierra Mountains. When they did a lot of fracking in the Midwest and found a lot more oil, California had no access to that. The only way to get that oil to California, since there's no way to pipe it to California, was to send it through the Panama Canal. And it was cheaper to import it from other countries than to take that route. So yes, we're an energy island. The Sierra Mountains, we could put a pipeline over it, but environmentalists would never make that happen. That's pristine, gorgeous territory.
Yeah, but costs to the end user are bigger or not with these solutions?
Oh, well, the isolation, definitely, it's much higher. I mean, we have probably the highest cost of electricity in the country, as well as the highest cost of fuel in the country.
But
and there's no options.
Yeah, but tell me about the decisions that take California to this situation. It's a long-term decision, no?
It's been going on for decades, Armando. And today I wrote an article about California. Governor Newsom, he's positioned the state to be a national security risk for the entire USA. Because today we have, back 50 years ago when the oil embargo hit, we were 95% independent between oil production in California and oil production in Alaska. That provided 95% of the demands of the state. The state has 9 international airports, 41 military airports, 3 of the largest shipping ports in America. And right now, the California decades of effort have been reduced production, reduced production, reduced production. So now oil production is going away. And instead of being 5% dependent on foreign oil, we're now more than 60% dependent on foreign oil.
60.
So all those airports I mentioned, the international airports.
Where does oil coming from?
You name the country, it's coming from there. Ecuador.
Internationally, it's not from other states.
No. Oh, definitely no. It's all international. It's foreign imports. And we got 145 airports, of which 9 were international and 41 were military. But we're consuming like 13 million gallons of aviation fuel a day. And we're reducing the crude oil for the refineries to manufacture it, which is making it tough on the refineries because they can't produce enough. And then we have one refinery that's closing. Phillips 66 refinery near Los Angeles is closing. So there'll be less manufacturing capability. So, the fuel consumption in California is tremendous. We have, we've got 30 million vehicles and there's 42 million gallons a day being consumed by them.
But are there other refineries working in California?
There are others reworking, yes, but there's probably others in the queue that are going to be shutting down. They're not announced yet, but I'm pretty tight with the industry, and I was talking to one of the former refinery managers, and he confirmed that there's more coming.
Wow.
And if you can't manufacture it here, it even gets worse. we can't manufacture the fuels here, and there's no pipelines over the Sierra Mountains, the fuel's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
China. Asia is building 88 new refineries.
Oh my God.
And so right now, those airports I mentioned, the shipping terminals, basically today, they're all being run by foreign oil.
But what's the logic,
And in
the
a few
reason?
years, they'll be run by foreign fuels
Sure.
that are coming in.
Not oil, but fuels.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. But what's the logic? Because the atmosphere is only one, a single one. If you refine outside the United States or California, the atmosphere will be contaminated as a whole. So
Armando, one thing I tell people all the time, you can't bring logic into this conversation. Because I firmly believe that our California Governor Newsom only breathes California air. Anything outside the borders of California is irrelevant.
he isolated him or other people from his group. Is a big group of people thinking like this.
I think over the years, I think it's a disease. We're related. But yeah, they've been reducing oil production, for decades and over-regulating the refineries, to the point that it's really tough for them to operate. And obviously that's why we have the high cost of fuel. It's just being passed on to us. But yeah, we have a clean refinery here, but if these refineries shut down and we're relying on refineries in Asia, they don't have the same environmental controls we have. But our governor will be happy because California is going to have clean air.
Clean air locally.
He
And
doesn't breathe
just
anything
outside.
yeah, anything
Uh,
outside the
But
borders,
but
it's okay.
tell me, is there a chance that Republicans win in the next elections for governor?
It depends on the candidate and it depends on the people, what they want to vote for. But I think the whole Democratic, we're a Democratic state, a one-party state,
Oh yeah.
and anything the Democrats want to do, they've been doing, and they've been doing it for decades. And it's gotten us to the point that we're we're in tough shape. I know just under Governor Newsom's leadership, statewide oil production has fallen by a third, just under his leadership.
Yeah.
And that's why the oil and imports are increasing. And if the refineries close down, there'll be no need for oil. There'll be no refineries to refine it.
Yeah,
And then we
what
have to
are
get
the
the
main
product.
products? What are the main products that are being produced in California, exported or produced for internal consumption?
Well, from the refineries, well, nothing's really being exported. It's being consumed here.
Mm,
I mean, refineries, about half of a barrel of crude oil is for fuel, diesel, gasoline, and aviation fuel. And the other half of the barrel is all the oil derivatives that accounts for all the products in our society that didn't exist 200 years ago. I was interviewed recently on a New York TV station, and the first question to me was, "Hey, Ron, we understand you're pro-oil." I said, "Wait a minute, I'm not pro-oil. I'm pro the products we get from oil. That's what's allowed society to populate from 1 to 8 billion in less than 200 years. If we can get those products from somewhere else, fantastic." But Newsom firmly believes wind and solar energy is going to replace fossil fuels.
That's the point. Are they investing heavily in wind and solar?
Very,
Still
very
doing?
heavily, yes. Oh, yes, yes. But wind and solar only generate electricity. And I think we've talked about this before. Wind and solar generate electricity, but electricity came after oil. We got 6 ways to generate electricity. You got wind and solar, nuclear, hydro, coal, natural gas. All 6 ways of generating electricity did not exist before oil. It's all the parts, the computers, the wires, the insulation,
Yeah.
the air conditioning, the doors, the glass. It's all made from oil. So if you get rid of oil, you get rid of electricity.
And wind and solar parts equipment are being imported from Asia. Is
Yes.
this? Oh,
Yeah. Heavily. Yes. Yeah. Because one thing that, Newsom, he's gung ho on subsidizing and mandating wind and solar, et cetera, et cetera. But renewables are capable of making aviation fuel, for the commercial, military, and the private. Renewables, they're incapable of making any gasoline for the 30 million vehicles. They're incapable of making diesel fuel. We're the second largest consumer of diesel fuel in the nation. And shockingly, renewables themselves cannot exist without the parts and components
sure.
made from the oil that he wants to get rid of. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So the money flow in California, because importing everything that California needs, is a very big problem in terms of debt and things like that.
exactly. Yeah. The three shipping terminals we have up in the Bay Area, and then two down here in LA, and then down in San Diego, they're pretty busy ports because everything's coming in.
Mhm. Oh my God. Yeah, but it's really interesting because and the federal government are looking at these problems, are trying to have a solution for California issues, or
Well, I guess the good news is that for once we have someone in the White House that has some energy literacy. Because one thing that Biden did, he was banning oil fracking. And, Trump has eliminated that or reversed that. And I think the Secretary of Energy is also very knowledgeable about we have to be energy independent. I mean, to be a powerhouse in this world, we can't rely on foreign people for our crude oil or for, fuel from the 88 refineries in Asia, to power our airports and our automobiles and trucks. And so
yeah.
we have to be energy independent. And right now we are energy dependent, heavily dependent.
At the same time, as you said, federal government are stimulating uh, oil exploration, gas production, shale
Right.
gas. So heavily investing in these things. Not the government, the private companies, but incentivized by government. So how do you see this relation? Totally opposite of California. Totally opposite.
That's right. That's right. Totally opposite California. Where they say we're going to get rid of oil. We're just going to have turbines and solar panels. It's crazy. You're right. It's totally opposite of being energy independent.
Yeah.
Because, if we have a state that's inundated with solar panels and wind turbines, we have a lot of electricity. But everything that needs electricity, think about it, everything that needs electricity, the iPhones, the iPads, the data centers, the airports, the hospitals, they don't exist without the materialistic components we're getting from
Mhm.
crude oil. So, you know, uh, wind turbines can charge an iPhone, but it can't make the iPhone. Like I say, it can make nothing for society. And so, yeah, without electricity, you have nothing that's going to need electricity to get rid of oil.
Yeah. How do you see the potential possible contradiction for Elon Musk between supporting Trump oil intentions at the same time being a manufacturer of EVs?
Well, since he's the richest man in the world, I don't know if it really matters what he thinks or what he does.
That's a good one. I like this.
He can lose half his wealth. And he'll still be the richest person
Doesn't
in the
matter
world.
what he thinks.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, he's basically an advisor to Trump because one thing that Elon Musk cannot do, he can't implement anything he's suggesting. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah,
And if Trump accepts it, even Trump, in effect, can't do anything. He can authorize the people to
Yeah.
do it, and then they, follow through. But right now, he's really just he's got the ear of the president, and he's giving advice, and Trump can take it or leave it. And if he takes it, then yeah, you have a lot of employees being terminated and other things. So it'll be interesting as the days go on as to how this all settles out. But it's only been about a month or so, and yeah, he's shaking up the world.
Yeah, because he left California. I suppose he went to Texas with his. I mean, Elon Musk with his.
Yes.
Yeah. I know that we are talking about California, but I'm curious to see your vision about Zelensky, Ukraine, and the influence of this solution that can be very soon in terms of gas, oil, and the equilibrium for oil and gas in the world. How do you see that?
It's going to be a negotiated thing because, like I say, everybody wants to be energy independent, and certain countries have the facilities. In the United States, we have, I think, more oil even than Saudi Arabia, but we can't get it because we're restricted from getting it. I think that's going to change, but every country wants to be energy independent. The one thing that I always think about is the Earth has been around for 4 billion years, longer than we've been around. And we have a lot of natural resources. We got coal, oil, lithium, cobalt, copper, iron, et cetera, et cetera. And when we extract it from planet Earth, it's not being replenished. It has to run out at some time.
Yeah, that's right.
And before they started fracking, there was projections that the world might run out of oil in like 100 years. Well, fracking found more oil, so we extended that. But if and the same thing with lithium and cobalt, to build EVs and wind turbines and solar panels, there's a limit to what's on this planet Earth. And once we've run out of it, we're in deep trouble. One thing I do know, the 4 billion-year-old planet is going to be here with or without us.
Yeah.
But like oil, it might run out in 200 years, 500 years, maybe 5,000 years. But the 4 billion-year-old planet's going to be here forever.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And it's the same thing with the raw earth minerals and metals for EVs and wind turbines, solar panels. I think there's less available resources of those than there are of oil and natural gas.
Yeah, sure.
The thing that bothers me is to build one Tesla 1,000-pound battery, which, lithium, cobalt, nickel, all the different metals, you have to move about 500,000 pounds of earth to make one EV battery.
Yeah.
Now, multiply that by the millions of vehicles that are being, discarded every year and the billions of vehicles in the world.
And
I don't,
erosion.
I'm not sure. I don't think there's enough lithium and cobalt in the world to meet that need. We definitely have to work on, continued conservation and efficiency. Just because we have oil, because we have lithium, because we have cobalt, we don't want to use it when it's not being replenished because it's going to run out at some time. If you got millions of vehicles around the world and you're not going to be able to charge them,
Yeah, that's right.
you can build them 1 year and then not be able to charge them next year. It's crazy. So
And,
that's one thing that we have to really continue to look at is
yeah.
the resources of planet Earth.
And do you have stable electricity in California, or have some problems?
In the area we live in, Southern California, it's been pretty steady. Yes. But I know we used to have 2 nuclear power plants. One was shut down, and Diablo Canyon up in Northern California was targeted to shut down. But even Newsom recognized it. Wait a minute, we don't have enough power. We better keep it open. So it's been giving a life extension. But California, because as I mentioned, he only breathes California air. We'll shut down a coal-fired power plant in California to reduce emissions, and then we import electricity from a coal-fired power plant on the other side of the border of California
Oh,
that doesn't have the same emission controls that California has. So they
scary.
have greater emissions, but California is green.
Oh, scary. Really, really.
Yeah.
Cannot produce internally and import electricity.
Right.
Something really. Oh my God. I have to go into our. I have a short video that I would like to share with you and see
Okay.
your opinion. It's a joke, but it's very interesting. Video file. It's here.
100,000 people in Denmark have now signed a petition urging their government to buy California from the United States. This petition drive is clearly having fun with President Trump's repeated threats to acquire Greenland, which is a territory of Denmark. Petition organizers in Copenhagen say California has plenty of sunshine, blue skies, and palm trees. And they joke that California would be the perfect vacation spot for people eager to escape the brutally cold winters in Greenland near the Arctic Circle.
That's right. You got to remember, Greenland is cold.
It's not so green.
And Iceland is green.
That's right.
All right.
Do you believe that we can? Oh, let me remove this thing here. No.
Well, without a doubt, California is a very temperate climate. I was watching the weather the other day, and I think it was forecasted to be the evening temperatures would get down to the 40s. And my wife was saying, "Oh my God, it's gonna be cold." And then they were talking about North Dakota was gonna be -9 degrees before the wind chill factor. And so I think it went down to -20.
What's the temperature now in your?
Oh, well, today it's warm. It's high 60s, low 70s.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's very temperate climate, and yeah, we watch the weather and the rest of the country if they're not getting rain and tornadoes and you know.
Why is it by the protection of mountains? Is that the reason?
No, for some reason it's just I don't know. I'm not a weatherman.
Yeah.
But I know Southern California is a very, very temperate climate, which supports the homeless because they don't have to deal with the weather as much as anywhere else.
Very complicated issue, homeless, and they are increasing a lot. They are being every day with fentanyl and this type of problems. Yeah, really.
Right.
So, in conclusion, California is an island, and so
It's an energy island, yes.
Energy island.
As a result, and there's no electrical lines over the Sierra Mountains. Also, we import 30% of our electricity from adjoining states north of us, and we're the biggest importer of crude oil. And it's just getting worse. We are totally dependent on others, foreigners or other states.
and no chance to change to the opposite direction. You do not see this.
It would take an act of God. I mean, obviously you'd have to change in the government, and it's taken us decades to get into this hole. It would take us decades to get out of that hole. And so, yeah, it's going to be challenging.
Yeah. Let's schedule for next week with Cleveland Jones to do a
That sounds
podcast with
good.
him and you about your next term. Can I don't know. It's not published yet. So it's a secret.
Not published yet. We're talking about the other 6 or 7 billion people on this planet that don't have electricity,
Oh yeah, it's a big
because it's only the wealthy countries that have the green movement because they have enough funds to mandate and subsidize anything.
Yeah.
But most of the world is 80% of the planet's living on less than $10 a day. They can't subsidize themselves out of a paper bag. And so all the idealistic things that we're doing is, like I said, we're cleaning up California, but poor, they're just trying to put food on the table and and try to find water they can drink, and it's crazy.
Good title for a book. Idealistic things.
I'll work on that.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure for me, this conversation.
Armando,
as
you have
always.
a great day.
You
Stay
too.
warm. Okay.
You too. Bye. Stay warm. You too. Bye bye.